we are starting now. Okay, so share screen. Welcome back to Latin. Guys, let's review what we were doing yesterday and where we're at in the week. Okay, so let's see. We are going to keep on reviewing the first four chapters. And yeah, so let's see here. Oh, did I pause it on the thing? Okay. So we're doing chapter 2 today, but we're going to start with brushing up on the first chapter to make sure we're at a good place with that. Remember, please speak up if you are feeling like you're not getting it, okay? Because we have plenty of, we have plenty of time to take as much time as we need to learn the material, okay? So we're right here. We're going to do chapter 2 today, 3 tomorrow, a little bit of 4. We're going to check that homework. Remember what I handed out yesterday, number 1 through 5 on Thursday. That'll be the first time that you guys get the chance to, assess your work that you actually spent independent time on. Because everything else we've done so far has been, happening in class where you don't really get the chance to sit with the Latin. And then Friday, we're going to do that vocab quiz, and you guys are going to do really good on it. I can just tell. Oh, man, I don't want that thing there. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we have our verbs, okay? Remember, a version of this chart is at the back of your vocab sheet. Does anybody need this? Or is there a couple people that have lost it already somehow? You need to come up here and grab it from the stack. You too. Okay, so just remember, it's not too complicated. The verbs, they basically have a stem, which will be like the left side of the word, okay? Like in amo, amare, the stem is basically just am. And we take that stem, and then we add the endings ost for singular, must, tis, int for plural. And so if it's first person singular, it's amo, like it is in the first principal part of the dictionary entry. It's I verb. Okay, is anybody confused when I say things like I verb? I mean that as in verb in a bracket and insert here, right? Like insert any kind of verb. Whatever verb it is, if it's first person, it's going to be I verb. If it ends in S, it's going to be you verb. And the T, it'll be it, he, or she, or Cicero, or Mr. Calinello, or the farmer verbs. And then so on and so forth, we have the plurals here. Is my lectern blocking anyone's sight? This right here? No? Okay, there's a question? Yeah? How do you tell if it's first, second, or third person? So you basically look at the very ending of the letter, right? So you can see them here. I know this is still a little small, but I see the O. I know it's first person. I know the subject is going to be I. That's it. It's going to be I verb. In this case, I love. And then maybe there's other words in the sentence, and then maybe one is direct object, like I love cheese, amo kaisum, something like that. Okay? And if you see an S, it's second person, the subject is you. So you can think of it as though these pronouns or subjects, they're often pronouns for first and second at least, are living inside of the ending of the verb. They're there in the ending of the verb. Because again, there is a Latin word for I and you in Latin, ego and tu. Ancient Romans just wouldn't have needed to use it. They put that information into the end of a verb. Does that kind of clear that up? So yeah, it's just going to take a second for you to learn the OST, must, tis, int, if it's your first year. But it'll click within about a week, and then, before you know it, you'll be looking at the ending of a verb without even realizing it. Being like, oh, that's first person, the subject's I. Oh, that's first person plural, the subject is we. Oh, it has a TIS at the end. I can see that is a distinct ending. It's up on my verb chart, which is not hanging right now. The subject is going to be you all, or y'all, or just you is fine too. And then, the verb ends in NT, the subject to be they. Any questions? I probably seem like I'm going really fast, but I love when you guys ask questions because it means that you are trying to address something you don't get, as opposed to just sitting there and being like, oh, I don't really get it, but I either don't have the energy to tell Mr. Catalanello, or I'm like, I don't really want to be the one to do that. You can be the one to do that because there's other students who also are still not totally getting it. But yeah, this all takes a little bit of time. But then about a week or two, hopefully all of this is kind of internalized, just in our brains. And then we had imperatives. Those are easy. That's the command form of a verb. They don't show up a ton. They'll show up every once in a while. The way you'll identify them probably is you'll see oh, that looks like a verb, but it doesn't have O or S or T or must or tis or int at the end. So it must be one of these commands. If somebody's talking to somebody and telling them what to do. So love, or you're telling a bunch of people to love something. give, or you're telling a bunch of people to give something, you add a te to make it plural, because it does matter if it's singular or plural as a command. And again, you're just dropping off the re from the infinitive. Remember that second principal part of the infinitive? All right, so we get everything so far? Possibly. See, I like that. Maddie is being honest. She's saying maybe, maybe not totally, but yes. Well, no, y'all should all verbalize yourselves, honestly. Like, whenever you need to speak, just say it, unless it's, like, rude. But if it's, like, about you getting something, please just tell me. Okay, and this is one more little summary of it. So, voco vocare means to call or summon. Like, not on a telephone, because Rome doesn't have telephones. They would probably use a wax tablet. They would leave it at the door of the person they were trying to get in touch with. Wax tablets, you could write stuff into the wax with a stylus, just by kind of like carving the wax away and making letters. And then you could use the other end of the stylus to kind of pave back over it and make it smooth again, so you keep reusing it. But here we have the conjugated voco vocare. We have voco, I call, first person, singular. Vocas, you call, second person, singular. Voca is going to be he, she, or it calls. We might, and a sentence that vocat shows up in, maybe we have a he, she, or it. Maybe it's Cicero, maybe it's a farmer, maybe it's a sailor, maybe it's a girl, maybe it's whoever. Mr. Calanello. That's third person, singular, slightly off kilter. Vocamus, we call. First plural, second plural, you call. Third plural, they call. So this seems pretty graspable, right? I know the people who applied last year, you're like, yeah, okay, I think Mr. Calanello, I definitely get this. So thank you guys for being patient as we do this review week. But for year one students, does it seem like OST must assent is something you can like kind of pretty quickly pick up? Because that's going to be, verbs are showing up with these 6 endings for the rest of the year. That's just how it is. So if you know OST must assent, you're going to be like, you're going to have the foundation of translating verbs. But there is more to it than just like English, which is, I guess learning English would feel more vocabulary based and then more exception based. There are a nasty amount of exceptions in English grammar that actually make it really difficult to learn if you didn't grow up speaking it. Okay, we're good on this? Are we good on, okay, so now chapter 2, wait, is it frozen again? Uh-oh. Oh, okay, weird. Oh yeah, sometimes this like gets crossed with the projector remote and does weird things happen. Okay. Welcome to chapter 2, guys. You made it. I'm so proud of you. It's very exciting. Chapter 2 is all about nouns. Okay, because what good are verbs if we don't have nouns to do them, or nouns to be acted upon by the verbs? So yeah, nouns are important. Chapter 1 is kind of weird to get stuck in for too long because they mostly do just give you verbs and like one pronoun, and that's about it. So chapter 2, you actually get a whole bunch of nouns, and that's good because then you actually can like translate sentences that have nouns in them. Almost all sentences have nouns, so you kind of need that. All right, every noun in Latin, and this is a very note-taking day, guys. This is probably more note-taking centric than yesterday. So just get it going with that cursive flowing across your lines of notebook paper. It's going to feel really good to record all of this. But every noun in Latin belongs to 5 declensions. So these are new grammatical words, right? Latin verbs belong to conjugations, there's 4 of them. You'll learn all 4 by the end of the year. Latin nouns belong to 5 declensions. So we'll get to what the word declension kind of even means. And you'll only get 3 this year. My oldest kids who are on their 3rd year just now got the 5th one. So as you can see, there's roughly 5 colors up here with a couple of additional little asterisk colors. Those are all the declensions. Don't freak out though. Today, we're just going to worry about the red ones. Tomorrow, we're going to learn the blue. And then you're not going to worry about any other colors until like November, maybe. You might get the 3rd November-ish. But anyway, so chapter 2 is all about the first declension. So each declension has its own set of 6 endings for both singular and plural, okay? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2. It's on both sides. So whereas verbs, we just have to know those like 6 endings, OST must assent. Unfortunately, we're a little closer to like 12 endings, but one of them is a real throwaway category. So it's more like 10. And there's some overlap here and there. It's not as bad as it might sound. Okay, And so the specific endings are called cases. So within a declension, each declension has an ending for all 6 of these cases. Now, cases is another thing as English speakers that were like, huh, what? You don't have cases with English nouns. What does that even mean? And we kind of actually do for pronouns, and we'll get to that. Pronouns are the only words that we have, like he and him, or she and her, that actually still kind of decline. Okay, so whereas verbs conjugate, meaning that the ending changes when you're conjugating to make them agree with the subject, nouns do this thing called decline. Not like, oh, I'm declining an offer or something like that. It's a grammatical way of using that word that is distinct from any way you probably ever heard it. Okay, each case has a specific purpose. So in all languages, nouns function in different ways. Sometimes they're subjects, sometimes they're direct objects, which I've been name dropping a lot. But all languages have them. And with languages like Latin, they change the endings of the noun to tell you whether it's the subject versus the direct object versus the possessive noun. Again, it's not something that normal English nouns do, but believe it or not, English pronouns kind of do that. Was that a little too fast? So try to like practice shorthand. Try to summarize stuff you see up on my slides. That is a surefire way to do really good in terms of keeping up. And also do not write so many notes that you are compromising how you are listening, okay? I know that's kind of confusing, but it's kind of like a balancing act. All right, yes?
How many years
Are y'all gonna take? You're gonna take it up to the 9th grade. So here at LTA, wherever you start, whether it's in 6th or 7th or 8th, you're gonna take it until the 9th grade. And then in the 10th grade, you're gonna take, as of right now, Spanish. But it could be French one day, or it could be Spanish or French. You could have like an option for something else. It could be Russian, I don't know. But yeah, you get like a second language in your 10th grade year, and you're gonna take that second language for 2 years. Unless we end up with 2 second languages, and then you could take 1 year of each, I guess, theoretically. And then one day we might have a Latin AP that you can take for college credit in like 10th, 11th, or 12th grade if you really like Latin. Maddie?
Well, what if I could just learn Spanish for my friends?
That's a good question. Well, how about this? How about you would take the Spanish here and just it'd be the easiest class of all time because you're practicing with grandma. And then
She lives too far
well, you can Skype, right? Now we know that like
away. She's too old.
are you sure? I think I'm surprised how technologically proficient like older people.
My birthday is, and she forgot my brother's birthday and niece's birthday. You know, that's okay.
I guess that's a grandma thing to do to be able to know somebody's birthday. But like at the same time, I mean that's hard to keep track of unless you have like electronic memos on your phone or something. That would be hard. Illinois? Okay, I told someone unfortunately that this was gonna start. Oh no, is that gonna just be there? This class started at 8 o'clock. Why did I tell them that? I don't know. But they haven't missed too much if they still show up. All right, so what are the various functions of nouns? I'll put functions in bold because it's kind of an important word. I'll eventually on quizzes like weeks from now, underline nouns and be like, what is the function? And I'll ask, what is the case? So functions are linked to cases. So, well, what is the most, I already flashed on the screen, but what is the most basic function of a noun? Like if you, like the one we probably all know. Because the other ones you might not like know off the top of your head. What's it start with? Okay, is it Kylie? It's Kaylin?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Kaylin, yeah, what were you gonna say? Yeah, good. So like that's the most basic, right? That's the most basic function a noun could do. All right, those basic sentence is probably just gonna be comprised of a subject and a verb. And that's like it. As in, look at my example, the students learn. Students there is a subject. In English, we just like know that. We didn't do anything to the word students to make it seem like a subject in a like scientific grammatical way. And yet we just know it's right next to that verb and it's agreeing with that verb. We know it's a subject. In Latin though, it would have a specific ending to tell us that it is a subject. So the subject is the thing that does a verb. I'm purposely using kind of crude language for the description just to like kind of make it as simple as possible. People I think get caught up like, oh, direct objects are so hard, and like indirect objects it's so complicated. It's really not. You just kind of have to like get a hang of them. So what is, when we put an apostrophe S on something, we are making it what? Anyone out loud? We put an apostrophe S on the end of a noun. Or sometimes an S apostrophe if it already ended in that S. Very good. What was your name?
Natalie.
Natalie, that's right. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm gonna like keep asking you all week, and then Friday I really will embarrass myself by trying to go through the whole class, like maybe before we play Jeopardy or something. All right, yeah, possessive. Okay, so that is the second function. I'm putting these in a specific order for a reason. They are actually mapping onto these cases, but we'll get to that. So let's hang tight on that. So something belongs to a possessive noun, right? If it has an apostrophe s, that means the noun like next to it belongs to it. So the students of LTA or LTA student. Now this can be kind of tricky. So wait, is student are students the possessive noun or is LTA the possessive noun? Are you getting those mixed up, Carson?
LTA.
Right. So I'm giving you two options here because we do this when we translate Latin possessives too. You can either say of the possessive noun, or you can just say the possessive nouns with an apostrophe s. So student is actually the subject, and then it is possessed, if you want to think of it that way, by LTA. It's like it belongs to LTA, the word LTA. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. No, it doesn't? Really?
Oh no, keep going. You're fine.
Okay. All right, let's see.
I'm not as stupid as
No, I don't think you are. I don't
you.
think
Really?
you are.
My entire family does.
Well, they're wrong, or they're probably just like joking, and they're just being. That's what family does. They, they make fun of each other. Indirect object, the third function. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm putting it in this order for a reason. So indirect object is like a third case in Latin, but I don't want to talk about it until I talk about the direct object, right? That makes sense, right? To talk about the direct object before you talk about the indirect object. So do not overcomplicate a direct object. It is the thing that receives the action of a verb. Okay? So subject's verb, direct objects. Usually. There's like exceptions to that. But if I eat a hamburger, I'm eating a direct object. If I read a book, I'm reading a direct object. If I teach a class, I'm teaching a direct object. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
It's the thing, it's almost like the other side of a coin from a subject. If on one side of a coin is the subject, the other side of it is the direct object. The subject is verbing a direct object. I don't know what that, but that's an action, that's a verb. And yeah. So any questions about that? I eat an apple as an I verb, insert verb, a direct object. Are we good on that? And I like that it's called direct because it is a very direct thing. Okay, it is directly receiving the action of the verb. Good on that, good on that. Good. Okay, we only have like two more. So now we can talk about what an indirect object is. It's basically when, it's the person or the recipient rather, because it doesn't have to be a person. It is that a direct object is verbed to. And usually it's like is given to is the verb I would, okay, I think you're auto admitted. Anyway, good. Hello, Ella Wanflu, if that's you, if you can hear me. I don't know if your mic is on, but anyway, welcome. Okay, so let's see. I eat an apple, or I'm sorry, so indirect object, I call this the Christmas function of a noun. It's when I give a direct object to an indirect object. So this morning, then you're making like your family into indirect objects, basically. You give your mom something, in that transaction, she is an indirect object. The gift is that pretty straightforward, or am I making it sound complicated, actually? Oh, yeah, in chapter 1, we get the verb do dare, which means anyone out loud. Carson?
You're not sitting in here with that.
Where do you want me to go? That?
Go to one.
I turn off our mic, or I can turn off my sound. But yeah, wait, what did you say? Carson?
I said to give.
Oh, right. So do dare means to give. So really, we're only going to have indirect objects when do dare is in play. Because if someone is giving a direct object, they might be giving it to an indirect object. Okay? It doesn't have to be give, though, but that's the only Latin verb right now that we're going to have. We do have debeo, which means to owe. So if you owe money to someone, that someone will be what's an object, everyone? An indirect object. Wow, y'all don't know how to like speak out loud. It's interesting. Y'all can do that. Y'all can do like you're not gonna get in trouble if y'all all say something in unison that I want you to say in unison. Okay, all right. So yeah, I owe a direct object to an indirect object. I give a direct object to an indirect object. I throw a direct object to an indirect object. Basically, the key preposition that you might want to think of is to. Okay? To shows up when you have an indirect object. And it'll actually, there won't be a Latin word for to. It'll just be the fact that you'll be like, oh, I can tell this noun is functioning as a direct object. I'm going to add to myself. All right, last one basically is the object of a preposition. So actually of that shows up with possessives is a preposition, and to that I was just talking about is a preposition too. But for every other preposition, that's going to get filed in this category, object of a preposition. So I am in the building. Building is an object of the preposition what? What preposition? In. Y'all can talk out loud. Please say things out loud when I do this. I live without fear. Fear is the object of the preposition without. And I think about the object. Object is the object of the preposition about. Okay, so it kind of just takes you getting used to prepositions. Well, we only have like 3 prepositions in the first 4 chapters, and they'll only give us 1 or 2 more every chapter or so. So it's really kind of, you can kind of take that slow, and you don't have to worry about that one too much. And then there is a last thing called an interjection, and that's just when you shout something, like you shout somebody's name, or you shout out just like a word just because you're like celebrating like a sporting event or something. So like students would be an interjection, or like victory, an interjection. Okay, that's it. Those are the things that a noun can do. It's pretty exciting, right? That's 6 things. It's not that many things. Do we feel pretty good about those? Do they all kind of sound like a little familiar?
Kind of.
My thing is that like I think we teach English grammar in elementary school, and we like teach it like intensely, like this kind of stuff, for like a couple of weeks, and then we like move on, and kids forget this stuff and they don't learn it again until like they're learning it. So hopefully it all looks a little bit familiar, but if it doesn't, now you know it. You know something that you maybe weren't totally clear on before.
Do you think we'll do sign language?
Here? Yeah. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. We could have an American Sign Language class. I think that'd be pretty cool.
You know, that'd be a great idea.
I know some schools do it. Okay, so let's see. So now we're going to map these functions onto these cases that we have. Carson, what is the first subject? I mean, the first case?
Subjective.
Kind of subjective. It is subjective technically.
Nominative.
Yeah, nominative. So it's called the nominative. So for all these cases, all 6 of them, you're going to have to learn this word you've probably never heard before if it's your first year. And it's just going to take a second to like remember these words. So it's not only that you're like remembering the endings, you're kind of remembering the case name itself. Nominative. Can anybody tell me what it's related to? This is probably for my year 2 students. Carson?
Nomination maybe, like basically the person who's.
It is related to nomination, and also you guys probably haven't seen it because I haven't like picked up a paper from y'all, but I usually write nomen at the top of your paper because nomen means what? Name. Yeah, so this is the name case. It is the subject case. And in the first declension, in our first red category, red as in it's red all over there, the singular subject ends in A. Okay. And then the plural version of it ends in AE, which is pronounced how. How do we pronounce that AE ending, anyone? Person?
Now tie.
Yeah, I. It's like it's an I. So now tie. Now tie means sailor. You can see it up there at the top. And that's its dictionary entry. Now tie is masculine, and it means a sailor. And yeah, now you kind of, well, you're about to know what that second form is. Everyone thinks that second form, now tie, is the nominative plural, but it's actually the genitive singular. Okay, so the second case, the possessive one, the case that has the possessive function is called genitive. This word genitive is related to words that like have to do with like generation or progeny, which are fancy words for like the succession of a family's line, which I guess kind of relates to something being possessive, like you belong to a family. And then what do y'all notice already? Year 1 students, what's weird about the singular genitive? Is there anything annoying about it to you? Kaylin?
Sometimes when it's first person singular, it can have an M at the end too. We might get it.
Are you thinking of verbs? I might know what you're getting at. To me, what's weird about it is like, look, it's the same as the nominative plural. So that means when you see nouns that end in AE, they could be singular. Yeah, they could be singular possessive, or they could be plural subjects. Okay, but this isn't too bad for English speakers because we actually have a very similar thing going on in our language. And that is when we make something plural with S versus when we make it possessive with apostrophe S. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So it's almost like ancient Romans had the same idea as us. And they were like, okay, our plural subjects are actually going to have the same kind of ending as our singular possessives. Yeah, minus the apostrophe making it different. You know, it'd be kind of nice if they used an apostrophe too. Maddie?
Okay. Necessarily, we stole the idea.
Did I say they stole it from us?
No.
Oh, yeah, we steal a lot of things. English steals a lot.
I steal a lot of things too.
Okay, you don't steal things from people, but stealing ideas is just a weird way of saying you're inspired by something. So yeah, English has a ton of Latin in it directly, mostly coming through French, which I guess makes it slightly indirect. So those are our first 4 case endings. And yeah, this one's weird. This one stands out a lot because it's like 4 letters, arum, to make it genitive plural. So that'd be the equivalent of like an S apostrophe in English. Any questions so far? It will just take a while. Like I'm not going to give you guys any assessment until like maybe the end of next week, where you'll actually need to know this information. Because whereas OST, mustus, and the verb endings, those you can pick up like pretty quickly. These noun endings, it's going to take a second. It's going to take a second, all right? It's going to take like a week or more for you to kind of like get the hang of it. I'll probably give you quizzes where you actually even have the noun chart out in front of you. Also, this is written in at the end of the vocab packet. Not on Friday's test, but almost certainly on the test after that. But no flashcard on Friday. So we're just drilling those for 10 to 20 minutes every night. On Thursday, we'll go through a Quizlet deck of all of them to see where we're at with it, so you know if you need to cram on Thursday. But hopefully you avoid needing to cram on Thursday. I think you're all going to do really great, but you do need to exert a little bit of effort. Okay, so indirect object is called the dative case, which that word's actually related to the verb to give, do, dare. Okay, it's kind of, you can't necessarily tell it just by looking at it, but it's the giving case or the recipient case. It's the person who receives a direct object. And super annoyingly, this is the worst thing about first declension by far, is the AE shows up for a 3rd time. So that's why when I was like, okay, it's kind of like 12 cases, but I mean 12 different endings, but not really because there's overlap, and the last case virtually doesn't matter. It's not exactly 12, right? Because there's overlap. Now the overlap is remember, but it poses this issue of we'll see a noun ending in AE, and we'll have to decide which of these 3 things it is. That is by far the hardest thing about translating first declension nouns. Okay, that's as hard as it gets, which is a good thing, I guess. It doesn't get harder than that. And then east for the dative plural. Now tease, if I'm giving something to a bunch of sailors, oh my, then then it's gonna have that long IS ending of east. Yes. Okay. All right, almost through, because again, the last one, y'all get to make fun of the last case. All right, the direct object case is called the accusative case. The way I try to help people remember this word is that if a lawyer accuses a criminal in court of doing something, then that criminal in that sentence would be a direct object. So I accuse, what's your name again? I accuse Macy of being a direct object. Because in this sentence, she would be a direct object. Because accusing is a verb, right? It's not a very exciting verb, but maybe it could be if you like court drama. But you're accusing someone of being a direct object, or you're verbing a direct object, whatever it is. So those are the endings for accusative. So AM, this guy's really distinct. He doesn't show up anywhere else. So if you see a noun ending in AM, that is a direct object. Like right now, that's as simple as it is. If you remember yesterday, all of our examples like I love Laptinom. You love Laptinom. Laptinom in that sentence was a direct object, so that's why it had the AM. All right, we're pretty good on that. And then to make it plural, it's AS, which we're used to putting S on the end of things in English to make it plural. So cool. All right, object of a prep is called the ablative. Ablative and dative are the rarest ones. And oh, look, they overlap in their plural. They both get the east ending for plural. So that's the other overlap we have to worry about other than AE. And then the singular one is very distinct. It is an A with a macron. So if you see a noun with an A with a macron over it, that's the gosh dang ablative singular. It can't be anything else. And then when people are just screaming nouns to the top of their lungs because they're interjections, that is called the vocative case, which this is the case I was saying we can make fun of because who cares about the lame vocative case? It doesn't even matter practically. And oh, look, the endings are the exact same as the nominative. So there's nothing weird. Like vocative basically is just like a type of nominative. But yeah, you can usually tell something's vocative because it has exclamation marks around it, like an exclamation mark. Maybe the word "oh" in front of it, like "oh, Gloria," "oh, glory," or something like that. Yeah. So we basically have 5 real cases to worry about, and then 1 kind of minor fake one. All right, how are we feeling, new kids? Do we think we can kind of learn this in the next week or so? No? If you think no, it's okay. So some people are saying yes, some people are kind of like being like maybe. Once you start practicing it, it's not too bad. But you need to translate, especially you need to translate the homework that's due Thursday that you're going to work on tomorrow night for sure. Translate it with the noun chart out. So this guy right here, you open it on up, and all of this information is written at the very bottom. So I have both the first and second declension because, unfortunately, guys, I will introduce the second set of endings tomorrow. It's going to be cool at first. But I really won't put you in a situation where you're translating without a friend like him. Or I don't know why I'm gendering the noun chart. You're gonna have like an aid, and we're probably gonna make a noun chart like we did last year. Y'all remember we made that noun chart with Mr. Popish? It was a good time. Macy? Sorry?
How do you know how to put on the end?
So you guys, you're only ever looking at nouns as they appear in sentences and looking at the ending and figuring it out what it is from there. You're never going to really write Latin. We eventually might do a Latin writing exercise. Like, is that what you mean? Like, you're never going to have to decide what ending to put on the end of a noun. You're going to just have to see a Latin noun, like nautom, and be like, wait, okay, I know this is coming from now to nautai, but it has an at the end. That means it's a, let me look at my chart. Oh, it's accusative. Oh, so this is the direct object. It's not the subject. Something is verbing a sailor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
How would you organize it to make sense? Because usually when we used to terms from last year, it never made sense.
well, like better versions of this chart, basically, making your own version of that. Like this chart minus all the 3rd, 4th, and 5th declensions, since I don't need that yet. And then you'll have like a column for function, just like we have here. And yeah, so you'll just have a chart and you'll just use it for weeks and weeks until eventually you don't need to look at it anymore. You'll just kind of know pretty quickly. Some of them are going to take a little longer for you to like remember it. But something like the accusative, accusatives are so common and that AM is so distinct that even some of you right now who are having your first year in this class might already be like, it's like, okay, that AM, that means it's going to be a direct object when I see it. Because it doesn't show up anywhere else. That is the direct object case. So yeah, it'll take some doing though. So subjects, those are super common. Almost every sentence, every sentence that is 3rd person can have them. If the sentence has a 1st or 2nd person verb, they actually won't need a subject. So kind of weird. Their subject will be I or you or we or y'all. So that's really common. Genitive's pretty common. Dative is not so common. Accusative is like super, super common. And then ablative is maybe a little more common than dative, but both of these don't show up as much as the other 3 that I put a star by. And then vocative, who cares? It's the worst. But that kind of like, it kind of takes practice and it takes using a chart. So we'll probably make big, nice charts that will make like color coded and stuff maybe next week. Any other thoughts or questions? That's a good question. Because yeah, I know what it's like in your first year of Latin. You look at something like this and you're just like, that's just a bunch of random letters to me. Like, how am I supposed to link that in my mind to my understanding of the functions of nouns? It feels daunting and also boring and also complicated, which is a bad combination. But once you start practicing a little bit, it will come together. So one sentence from chapter 1 that I wanted to get to before we look at some chapter 2 sentences was number 6 from the book. Quid debemos cogitare? What does quid mean, Riley? Do you remember what quid means? Yeah, very good. Did you have Latin last year? Okay. Well, one more time. Raise your hand if you're year 1 in here. Oh, it's just 2 people? Okay. Really? So this is all 3 people. So it's almost a complete Latin 2 class. Okay. So hang tight, Latin. Most of y'all, we're gonna get back to like where we were in a week or so. All right. Anyway, it's good to review. Like I would be reviewing regardless of whether this entire class was on their second year. What does debeo debeiri mean, Nelius? Do you remember? Carson, you remember debeo?
Debeo means, no, that's not good. Sorry. I had the translation in my mind, then I lost it.
Debeo's hard. Debeo debeiri is one of our second conjugation verbs, and it means, is that Natalie? What's it? To owe? Exactly. We get words like debit and debt from it, like a debit card, or you owe a debt to somebody. And what person and number is it, Natalie? I see the MUS ending. Very good. So the subject is going to be. Very good. Very good. Okay. But then, what the heck's going on here? It's like I thought we were only going to ever have one verb per sentence. What is cogitare doing there? And yes. It's a what? Yeah, very good. And can you tell me what form that is? Cogitare. It's not OST must is int. It's the straight up starts with an I. It's like in math if something goes on forever. Yeah, so this is the infinitive. Okay, so every once in a while, certain verbs will actually hang out with second verbs, and that is called a complementary infinitive. Okay, and so the reason I have to show you guys this is because something weird, really specific happens when debeo is hanging out with the complementary infinitive. It will no longer mean to owe. Okay, it's not going to mean to owe. It's going to mean should or ought. Ought is kind of an old-timey way of saying should. Ought to verb. And it's going to be should do whatever the second verb is, if that makes sense, kind of. So let's bring it over here. What word should I start off with in my English translation for this? Anyone? Well, Natalie, what do you think? You said we? So yeah, maybe we, except this is a question. Questions are actually maybe the hardest thing to translate in your first year or two. I don't think we actually would quite start with the subject. We is going to be the subject, but this is a question. Grace?
Is it what should?
Good. Yeah, let's start with what, because it's like a question. We're asking something. So we're going to use quid. So what, and then let's use should, because ought's kind of weird. What should, but oh wait, I can't say think yet. I can't say what should think. I need to say what should who, Natalie? Exactly, very good. So that one's just kind of complex and kind of complicated. So you might want to take a note in your notes somewhere that debeo, debeiri, plus an infinitive, which hopefully you kind of know what infinitive means. It's the version of the verb that shows up in the second part of a dictionary entry, equals should, or let's just say should and forget about ought. Should plus the infinitive, like should think in this case. All right, any questions on that? Not too bad, right? Alora? No? Okay. Alora, can you read number 2 for us? I know it's kind of tiny. I can make it bigger real quick. But yeah, can you read that in Latin for us, especially once I make it bigger, like right now? Okay, go ahead, please. Is it still too small? Puellae. Puellae est magna. Good. Yeah, Fortuna puella est magna. If we just had to guess, what do we think the subject is? What's your name there with the red shirt again? Aiden. What do you think the if you just have to guess, like, and you're gonna say it in Latin, you don't have to translate it. But like, what do you think the most simple subject, like this, the best case scenario, if this is as simple as we want it to be, what is the subject gonna be? Third word, est. So est is a weird verb that's somewhere, I think that's actually towards the bottom of y'all's verbs. Est is actually a verb that means is. Okay, it's a weird irregular verb, but it is actually third person. Richard? No? Okay, y'all keep stretching like you're raising your hand. Carson?
Fortuna.
Yeah, maybe just Fortuna. So when our subject is third person, and it's not just like if the verb isn't first and second person, if our subject isn't I or you or we, there's a good chance the subject's just going to show up at the far left. That is not set in stone, okay? That doesn't necessarily happen, but it's pretty likely when we have a third person subject that is actually named that is more than just he, she, or it. We have an it's Fortuna. How do we know it can be a subject? Well, it ends in A without a macron, and the only ending in the first declension that ends in A is the nominative one, the subject. I mean, yeah, it's vocative, but I told you guys before it was a vocative. So it's that guy right there. It's gotta be the subject. That's it. It's as simple as that. Does that make sense to you guys? That if you saw Fortuna and compared it to that chart, you'd be like, this is the subject. Okay, then what is Puellae? What's your name? Caden. So, okay, Caden's sitting behind Aiden. Caden, what do you think Puellae is doing? Because it does not have the same ending as Fortuna, so it's not a subject. It's doing something different. It could be an indirect object for sure. Because remember, this AE, we kind of don't like AE because it shows up in the indirect object case, the possessive case, and the plural subject. Annoying. Now, we can rule out indirect object actually, because our verb just is. So it doesn't look like we're giving a direct object to an indirect object, right? That's really the only time indirect objects show up if we're like verbing a direct object to an indirect object. We can also rule out so now we have plural subject or singular possessive. We can actually rule out one of those. Does anybody know which one we can rule out actually? Given that we already decided Fortuna is the subject. What were you gonna say, Caden? Yeah, I think it'd be possessive, because like if we already have a singular subject, we're not gonna also have a plural subject. That'd be weird. They can't both be nominative. That'd be crazy. So it's possessive. I like to draw an arrow for possessive to say Fortuna belongs to Puellae. If it is in fact genitive, which I think it is, then it'll be possessive of that. And then we have our verb is, and then we have a what part of speech? What part of speech is magna? What does it mean? What part of speech does it mean? One. We get words like magnificent from it. And magnitude, yeah. Yeah, so is that like a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, what? Not an adverb, but a Caden.
Adjective.
Yeah, remember describing words like great, like if a noun is great, it's an adjective, it's modifying the noun. But anyway, yeah, you're exactly right. It means great, or it can mean large too. So let's put this all together. Fortune. Well, let's see. How should I do this? Fortune. Great. Is great, except what do we do with Puellae? Should we handle Puellae before we say is great? There's two different ways I could handle Puellae. Carson?
I'd say the fortune of the girl is great, or the girl's fortune is great.
I'm going to squeeze this in. Yeah, so you can either say the fortune of the girl, or you can say the girl's, which might be a little more natural, the girl's, apostrophe S, fortune is great. So those are your two options for taking the genitive. Either is totally fine. So when you have a genitive, it can either be of the genitive or the genitives, apostrophe S. Are you good on this one? Be honest. Be honest. Anyone want to sleep? Anyone want to sleep good?
To be honest,
What?
I'm tired. I'm freezing.
You're tired of freezing? Well, doesn't the freezing actually make you
I'm a little late for my bed.
more awake? Wait, raise your hand or cold?
And salad.
Oh, man.
And that's why you gotta speak up, people. I'm freezing.
It's true. No, you can't speak up. I just get really hot in my first few classes. I don't know why. The rest of the day, I'm like fine. But I like want to blast the AC in the morning. I don't know why. Okay, let's do at least one more. We only have like 8 minutes in here. let's do one more at least, and then we can look at chapter 2 vocabulary in the Quizlet. Okay, so there's a lot. Ooh, there's a lot going on. Number 3, that is looking real tasty grammatically. What do we think that? No, that's not new. Grammar is allowed to be delicious. Let's see. Number 3. What is the subject? What's the most obvious subject? Who's somebody I haven't called on yet? Nelius? Yeah, maybe just Puella. Just like in number 2, I see a noun. It's the first word, and it ends in A. And if I looked it up, it'd be from Puella, Puellae, which is first declension. Puella means anyone out loud. Girl, thank you for speaking out loud. Thank you. So yeah, that's gonna be the subject. That's it. I can already just write that out because I just like know that's gonna be my subject. It's gonna be like happening in the English translation very quickly. So I'm just gonna write it now. Then Fortuna. What the? It's not Fortuna. It's not, another subject, which wouldn't make sense anyway. What do we think it is, Katie?
Would it be, again, would it be you?
Okay. So you're thinking of verbs, kind of? Remember, we have to keep the way we think about nouns separate from verbs. So fortunam is a noun from the word fortuna, fortunae, which means fortune. And so none of our verb endings in OST must just end. None of them end in M yet. Eventually one will. But now if you're thinking it's like a second person verb or something, I see where that would happen early on. But this is a noun. So what case is it? What case and function is it? Natalie? Yeah, so its function as an accusative would be what, Nelius? The direct object. Exactly. This is the direct object. This happens a lot in Latin. This does not really ever happen in English, where we have a subject right next to a direct object, but it happens all the time in Latin. But we can't do it. Like, I'm not going to write fortune right here. I'm not going to start writing fortune already, because that wouldn't be how it is in English. I need what do I need before what part of speech do I need between the subject and the direct object in English? Anyone? Yes, Kaylin. Yeah, I need the verb. Exactly. So basically, I'm going to keep moving in the sentence. I'm going to just be like, hold that thought. That's a direct object. Let me take care of these maybe, but then where's my verb, Kaylin? Yeah, it's at the end where it usually often is. Loud dot. It is what person and number? First, second, or third? Loud dot. Yeah, T for third. And it is singular. It's not loud dot. It's not like they praise. And so, hey, that agrees with girl. Okay? And it's singular. Girl is a she. So out of the he, she, and it, we have a she subject. So let's just say it now. The girl praises. And I'll come back to patriae tuae. Maybe I can handle that last. She praises the what? You can say the Latin word that she praises, or you can say grammatically what she's going to be verbing. Anyone? I feel like the heater just came on. Anyone? David? Wait, David? Yeah. She's going to praise the what? The direct object, or she's going to praise an indirect object? Is there an indirect? Praise a possessive? What's she going to praise? What's she going to verb? What's your name? Nathan? Cool. Nathan, what does she praise? Yeah, the direct object, exactly, which is fortune. She praises the fortune. And then now, last thing we need to do before we look at some vocabulary words for the last 2 minutes of class, maybe, is what do we do with patriae tuae? Tuae is kind of weird, but I can already tell they go together. I just know they do, because they both have the same ending. Y'all see how that works? It's called a noun phrase. Tuae is actually an adjective. It means your. So it's going to be your patriae. Uh-oh. Oh, well, the class is over in less than 10 minutes, so it's fine. I wish you didn't interrupt my thing. Now it's frozen, maybe? Interesting. Okay, but, yeah, so, okay. So, tuae means your. So it's going to be your patriae. What does patriae mean? Anyone? Carson?
Fatherland.
Yeah, it's related to patria, which means father or dad. Patria is fatherland, or it's just country, like a country that somebody belongs to. What could they be? They have the AE ending. Are they plural subjects? Are they possessive? Or are they dative? It'd be weird if they're dative. I don't think we need an indirect object in this sentence. Anyone? So the verb like praise, you just like praise a direct object. You don't praise a direct object to an indirect object. So maybe not dative. So is it a plural subject or is it a possessive? Someone's got to guess. What's your name there with the red shirt? What's that you? Yeah. Danny. Sorry, I feel like I can't hear. Danny, what do you think? Is it a plural subject or is it a singular possessive? You're not sure? No? Well, don't we already have a subject? Didn't we decide the girl is the subject? So I don't think it could be that AE. It couldn't be the plural subject. I already said it. I don't think it'll be a correct object. So
Thank you.
what would that be? Anybody? It got real quiet all of a sudden. What's it going to be? The fortune? Or you don't know? Maybe you almost know that you didn't quite. Okay, now we have actually a few volunteers. That's what I like to see. Let's hear from Grace first. What do you think? Oh, your father. Is that what you're gonna say, Natalie? Is that what you're gonna say, Caleb? Yeah, very good. I'll write it in blue apparently. Of your fatherland. And so the other way we could say this, if we wanted to, we could say praises your fatherland's apostrophe s fortune. But I think this is fine. This works because this actually like comes pretty close to the Latin word order. The only thing that we had to do is take loud dot and move it over here between the subject and the do. We didn't have to do too much more than that, so that's cool. Yeah. Any questions on that? All right, guys, we're almost halfway through our review week. Next week's gonna be awesome because we're gonna do chapter 5. That'll actually be like challenging for most of y'all, whereas this stuff is more like review. And yeah, maybe we'll pick up the pace by the end of the month. We will be back where we were at the end of our online time. Okay, let's see. I'm sorry. It is indeed. We have like 7 minutes. So let's do some flashcards. If you know it, just say it out loud when I get to it. Okay, what is fama fami? Anyone? Just say it out loud. Fame. Yep. So a few people knew. A few people were volunteering. Fame, yeah, just fame. Or, okay, oh, sorry. Let me erase this. So fame, it could also be something like rumor or report. This word actually goes along with a concept that was very important in the ancient world. Okay, before social media, before the press, your reputation was everything to you. And it was usually, like, how was your reputation? How did it kind of spread around? Back in 2,000 years ago, before electronic stuff, 80? Yeah. So that's why fama can be translated to rumor, because it's word of mouth kind of stuff. It's not stuff that's really even written about you, right? We have historians that around the time of Julius Caesar like writing about famous like historical figures, but if you're just like a normal person, it's all about what people say about you from town to town. Oh no, I need the Latin. What is forma formi? Former shape. Yeah, again, y'all can do this out loud. I know that feels weird. You're used to raising your hand. But yeah, so this is form. How about, so I promised yesterday, maybe every day I'll promise to put one word on the quiz. That is easy. So yesterday it was what that I said I would put on? Anyone? Yeah. No, I said I put May. I would definitely put May, which means me. So how about for chapter 2, the easy one I put will be forma formi. Okay, so that is a gimme. It can mean form, but it can also mean shape or even like beauty, which is a little different than form. Fortuna is, yep. Era?
Anger.
Good. Yeah, really? Okay. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We still won't really need the book tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you guys for being cool on this review week. I promise we'll get some new material by next week.